On her wedding anniversary, Raquel Tuner decided to go to her husband's office to surprise him. However, she never imagined that she would be the one being surprised. When she arrived at the office, Raquel witnessed her husband having an affair with his secretary. Driven by anger, she came up with a plan to get revenge. Raquel and William were a couple who seemed to have everything under control. Married for 5 years, they were a perfect pair. Raquel, a woman with a gentle smile and serene gaze, was 32 years old and radiated a comforting calm. Her dedication to marriage and motherhood was exemplary. She had left her career as an administrator to be a full-time mother to little Luca, her beloved 6-month-old baby. Taking care of her son and the house became her mission, and she embraced this task with all the love in the world. Meanwhile, William, 35, was a successful and respected lawyer in the city. His promising career kept him busy, but he always made sure to set aside special moments for his family. Always attentive and affectionate, William had the gift of making Raquel feel like the most loved woman in the world. Their relationship was based on trust and companionship, and everything seemed perfect. Amidst a scenario of achievements, little Luca was the true light of their lives. Every smile and cute gesture of the baby filled the home with joy and tenderness. The two shared the pride of being parents of such a special being, and of being able to create memories together that would become precious over the years. The couple's wedding anniversary was approaching, and the date was full of expectations. Because he was a wonderful father and a great husband, Raquel planned to surprise William by giving him a special treat as a way of saying thank you. Wanting to make sure everything would go smoothly, Raquel asked William if he was available for that special occasion. She asked him about his return time from the office that particular day. However, William shared that he had been facing a sudden increase in work demands, making it difficult to predict an exact time to return home. This response puzzled Raquel, since in previous years William had always made a point of setting aside that day exclusively for them, to celebrate the significant date of their wedding together. Despite feeling awkward, Raquel chose to approach the situation with understanding and empathy. Instead of getting frustrated or hurt, she decided to take the initiative and create a special surprise for William. She planned to surprise him at her office. She planned an unforgettable evening where they could celebrate together, even in the face of the challenges that the circumstances presented. However, Raquel could never have imagined that she would be the one to be surprised, not with a pleasant surprise, but with a surprise that would change her entire life. And so, on the day of the celebration, with the excitement of someone preparing something with all the love in the world, Raquel wore the clothes carefully selected for the occasion, giving a touch of sensuality and elegance to her appearance. And after leaving her son with a nanny, she left the house excited, eager to see the surprised expression on her husband's face when he found her in the office. The office was located in the heart of downtown Toronto, in an imposing skyscraper that stood out against the blue sky. The spacious, well-lit space reflected her dedication to her profession, filled with shelves crammed with files and diplomas that testified to her competence. As she entered the elegant building, Raquel's heart beat faster. She imagined the surprised expression on William's face and felt fulfilled in anticipation. As she approached the door, she noticed that it was ajar, and before even opening it, Raquel witnessed a scene that made her lose her footing. William and his secretary, Stella, were together. The two shared such a striking closeness that they seemed to be perfectly in tune, giving Raquel an uncomfortable feeling that she was intruding on a moment of intimacy that clearly shouldn't exist. Raquel's heart seemed to freeze as she watched the scene. The smile that adorned her face instantly disappeared, and her body went still, as if she had been petrified by the sight. In disbelief and feeling groundless, she watched William with his charming smile. Once meant only for her, it was now directed at Stella, and her hands, which used to trace the delicate contours of her body, now explored the skin of another person. In whispers, the two communicated. Raquel could not decipher the content of the conversations, But the proximity between their bodies and the complicity in their gestures were languages that all her senses understood. These were gestures that transcended the boundaries of professionalism, revealing a connection that should not exist between a boss and his secretary. Raquel's stomach twisted and hot. Bitter tears rolled down her face, revealing the pain of her torn soul. Each tear was a drop of broken trust, of betrayed promises, and of a love that now seemed lost amidst the shadow of this betrayal. A mixture of disbelief, anger, and pain pulsed through her veins, making her heart beat at an unsteady pace. The sight of William, the man she loved and trusted completely, sharing intimacy with another woman left her stunned. As she stood in the doorway, her mind struggled to process what her eyes were witnessing. She wanted to scream, demand explanations, tear away the veil of illusion that had been thrown over her. But the words seemed stuck in her throat, as if an invisible force was preventing her from reacting. Crying and desperate, she left the place, without letting William notice her presence. The drive home was filled with questions about how he could have done this to her, with the love they had built together over so many years. Every happy memory and every promise of fidelity now seemed to have been erased by this betrayal. The man she thought she knew so well now seemed like a stranger, a being transformed by choices she could not understand. The image of their son, who had always been the unbreakable bond between them, made the pain even more acute. She remembered the nights they had planned a future for the child, the dreams they had shared of building a solid family, but that had been destroyed in an instant. Raquel wondered if all the time they had spent together had been a lie, if every caress, every word of love had been rehearsed just to hide the truth. The pain she was feeling was mixed with anger, and she couldn't understand how William could have been so selfish. Betrayal wasn't just an act between adults. It was an act that had the power to affect the life and future of an innocent child. The firm, determined look in Raquel's eyes was a clear indication that she wouldn't allow this to go unpunished. Driven by the anger of a betrayed woman, Raquel was willing to make William pay for his actions and make him feel the same pain she was feeling. So she decided to come up with a plan to get revenge. With pen in hand, Raquel wrote down her findings. She had delved into Estella's social media, digging up information about her daily activities, the places she frequented, and her circle of friends. Every detail, no matter how small, was being transformed into a tool for the plan she was about to execute. However, one thing really caught her attention. Estella, the woman who was having adventures with another man, was also married. Her husband, named Daniel, a seemingly simple man, could not even imagine what Estella did during her work hours. Raquel, immersed in tumultuous thoughts, felt that she needed to transform her pain into something more, something that would make William and Estella understand the weight of their betrayals. With a heavy heart, she dialed Daniel's number, deciding to share the harsh truth with him. Daniel's voice, initially confused, soon turned into a tone of surprise when he heard who was on the other end of the line. Raquel exposed in a raw and sincere way the betrayal that her spouses had committed, with words loaded with a mixture of anger and sadness. Daniel, also betrayed, shared the same whirlwind of emotions, confiding in Raquel, who was already suspicious of Estella's strange behavior. Overcoming her weakness and with determination in her voice, Raquel told Daniel that they could not let this go unpunished. She proposed an alliance, a conspiracy to show William and Estella the pain they had inflicted. They would be the architects of a plan that would make their betrayals come back like a boomerang. The silence on the other end of the line was replaced by a deep breath, as if Daniel was pondering the proposal. However, it didn't take long for him to agree with Raquel. "You're right, Raquel. They need to pay for what they did, and they need to feel the pain of betrayal just as we did." In the weeks that followed, Raquel and Daniel got together in secret. They exchanged messages and met secretly. Soon, the two began to form the outlines of a plan that was based on the same betrayal that had inflicted their deepest wounds. The web of deceit and manipulation they were about to weave was complex and dangerous, but it also held out the undeniable promise of justice. Together, their minds worked tirelessly to shape every detail of the plan and new meetings were necessary. Nothing could go wrong, and everything had to be meticulously planned. As the days passed, Raquel found a growing identification with Daniel, as she discovered more and more common points between them. The deep connection that was beginning to blossom caught her attention intensely. Daniel, in turn, did not hold back on kindness and courtesy in conversations, revealing his simplicity combined with remarkable intelligence. For Raquel, exchanging ideas with him became a genuine pleasure, something they could do for hours on end without realizing it. With each new encounter, the connection between them grew stronger, giving rise to a friendship that manifested itself in unexpected ways, emerging from the ashes of treacherous experiences previously lived. Their daily routine consisted of a constant exchange of messages and, whenever possible, discreet meetings scheduled at a hotel in the city. Every time her cell phone emitted a notification, Raquel could not help but feel anxious about checking the sender. When she saw that the message was from Daniel, her lips curved into a soft smile, reflecting the happiness that this connection brought her. With Daniel's presence, the wounds caused by past betrayals began to gradually heal. While they meticulously collaborated on their plans, they also explored the depths of their own emotions. The initial whirlwind of anger turned into mutual understanding, and the betrayal they had both faced brought them together in ways they could never have imagined. Every furtive glance, every encrypted message, all of it contributed to the construction of a shared story. It was a story of renewal and twists and turns, a narrative that kept them connected by the fire that had burned in their souls. Meanwhile, William began to notice a change in Rachel's behavior. The loving and attentive wife he knew had become a more reserved and aloof woman. Noticing this abrupt change, he expressed his concern and asked if everything was okay. Raquel replied that she had never been in such a positive state. The answer confused William, who felt that something was going on and needed to investigate. Raquel's anxiety when receiving notifications on her cell phone and her smile when reading messages aroused William's curiosity, who began to suspect the nature of these interactions. When questioned, Raquel claimed to be talking to a friend, although William knew she wasn't the type to have frequent conversations. William's suspicions grew with each passing day, making him wonder if Raquel was cheating on him. The fog of distrust hung over William, spreading further and further with each dubious gesture from Raquel. Restless, he could not ignore the signs of change in his wife, the lost looks she tried to hide and the whispered messages she let slip. It was as if a thin veil of secrets hung between them, oscillating between the unknown and the unthinkable. One night, while watching Raquel sitting on the sofa in the living room, William found himself trapped in an internal storm. She seemed distant, lost in thoughts he couldn't decipher. Every time he mentioned her behavior, she offered vague explanations and fragile smiles, as if she were hiding something behind her eyes. The nights became long and lonely for William. He began to lose sleep, wondering if the woman he shared his life with also shared his deepest feelings. But the facade of normality was about to crumble. One morning, while drinking coffee, William spotted a business card in his office. The name on the card was a bitter reminder of his own distrust, a private detective. The mere presence of the card on the table was a silent admission of his suspicion. With the determination of someone about to face his worst fears, William picked up the phone and dialed the number on the card. The detective's voice sounded serious and professional, promising confidential information and the unmistakable truth. William gave Raquel's name and her usual location and made sure his secret was protected. He wasn't ready to reveal to anyone his growing obsession with solving the mystery. The days dragged by like cars in a traffic jam, William's impatience growing with each passing second, until finally, a white envelope with several photographs arrived in his hands. His heart raced as he tore open the envelope, exposing images that made his world spin. In the photograph, Raquel was holding hands with a man as they walked into a hotel. Shock and fury swirled in his chest, forming a storm of emotions he could barely comprehend. The detective had provided the undeniable evidence he had been looking for. In addition to the photos, William had also received a file with several compromising conversations from Raquel. He didn't need anything else for William to be sure of everything that was going on. Willing to unmask Raquel personally, William asked the detective to keep an eye on Raquel, and that when she went out again, he should be notified so that he could follow her. He was outraged and upset. William would not accept being betrayed and would never forgive her. Following William's orders, as soon as Raquel left the house and got into an unknown car, the detective warned him, giving him information about the direction they were going. William dropped everything he was doing and quickly headed to the location provided by the detective. As he discreetly followed Raquel's car, William felt his heart beating wildly. His eyes burned as he stared at Raquel's car in front of him. Every corner he turned, every traffic light he crossed, was an eternity of uncertainty, one step closer to discovering the truth he so feared. Raquel's car was getting closer and closer to the hotel he suspected she was headed to. William's mind was in turmoil, filled with unwanted images. He could see Rachel smiling at him, kissing him, promising eternal love. Her words, now tainted by the shadow of betrayal, echoed in his mind, haunting him like ghosts from the past. The tight feeling in his chest was unbearable, a mixture of anger, despair, and self-loathing. Knowing that his wife, the mother of his child, was giving herself to another man was devastating and humiliating to him. William felt a storm building inside him, a storm that threatened to devour everything he knew. Each beat of his heart was like a deafening drum, marking the rhythm of his agony. And then, like a shadow, Raquel's car pulled into the hotel parking lot. William crept behind, slowing down to avoid attracting attention. His eyes were fixed on the hotel door, a gateway to the unknown, to the betrayal he so feared confirming. William's breath hitched as he watched Raquel step out of the car with a man. His heart seemed to freeze in his chest, as if time had been suspended. He watched helplessly as she walked toward the entrance, disappearing into the shadows of the hotel. A whirlwind of emotions hit him with full force. Anger, sadness, shock, and most of all, a suffocating sense of loss. He wanted to scream, to cry, to demand explanations. With his heart still pounding, he got out of the car and began moving toward the hotel. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground was pulling him down. As he entered the hotel, a sense of surreality enveloped him. The walls seemed closer, the sounds louder. William climbed the stairs slowly, each step a reminder of what he was about to face. Finally, he reached the bedroom door. He could hear Raquel's voice and muffled laughter from inside, confirming that she was there. And with a sudden movement, he turned the handle, pushing the door open with force. Raquel was there, standing next to a man William didn't immediately recognize. An uncontrollable rage began to grow inside him, like a burning fire that spread. Fury burned in his eyes, with a mixture of despair and indignation dancing in his gaze. His words, loaded with vulgar insults, began to escape his lips, aiming to reach Raquel's core. With a voice full of bitterness, he tried to offend Raquel. His words came out like sharp knives, hitting her with a stinging cruelty, accusing her of being a traitor and a liar. William continued with harsh and cruel words, words that penetrated the depths of Raquel's soul. Each insult was like a blow that tore through the air. He was blind to the fact that her accusations were a reflection of his own betrayal. Then, in an instant that seemed suspended in time, Raquel lifted her head and looked at William with eyes that had once been filled with affection but now reflected an unbreakable determination. "Enough, William." His words rang out clear as bells, breaking through the emotional storm. "You talk so much about betrayal, but have you ever looked inside yourself? Has it crossed your mind that perhaps all of this is a reflection of your own actions? That you may simply be reaping what you have sown?" William stood paralyzed, unsure of how to respond. Raquel continued, her voice gaining strength. "I know about your affair with Estella, your secretary. Stop pretending and playing the victim. You pointed your finger to accuse me, but everything you said reflects only on you. You described yourself completely. It's you, the liar and the traitor." William, desperately searching for a way to divert the conversation, tried to justify his betrayal as an inevitable stumble in the complex dance of relationships, a momentary human weakness that did not justify what Rachel was doing. He insisted that no matter what he had done, she was still in the wrong. The argument escalated, and when Rachel realized that William was in the throes of the betrayal, she revealed her ace up her sleeve. She said that the only traitor present there was himself, that everything between her and Daniel was a meticulous part of an ingenious plan. She explained that, unlike him, she and Daniel had never had an affair, that their relationship was just part of the whole plan. Raquel also confessed that she herself had left intentional traces to arouse William's distrust. The detective's card in her office, she had put it there herself. The detective was a fraud, and she was orchestrating everything so that information would flow back to William, making him believe in a betrayal that was nothing more than a staged act, keeping him submerged in his own despair. And as Rachel had imagined, William fell into the trap, going through the same affliction that she and Daniel had faced. The disbelief that had once marked William's face faded, giving way to an expression of shock and bewilderment. He remained silent, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions raging through his mind. His facade of arrogance and superiority was shattered for the first time. His voice trembling, he tried to formulate an apology, begging Rachel to consider his request for the sake of their shared child. However, Rachel had already made up her mind. When you got involved with another woman, you didn't consider the consequences or our child. The actions that triggered all of this are your own doing. Now you are free to formalize your relationship with Estella. After all, you both deserve each other. Raquel's words were spoken with determination, but her eyes could not hide the deep sadness she felt. Estella did not escape the consequences either. Daniel, driven by the need to free himself from the painful bond, ended his marriage with Estella, who, with her reputation tarnished at the office, chose to leave work and distance herself from William. In the end, the truth had been exposed, the masks had been removed, and the web of betrayal had been unraveled, leaving in its wake open wounds and lessons learned. On the road of life, some forks in the road are irreversible, so try to walk in the right direction from the start. So, what would you do in Raquel's place? Leave your answer in the comments. Thanks for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story and which city you are watching from. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. See you soon.